Good afternoon, and welcome to this afternoon's VetNet Entrepreneurship Track special presentation, broadcasting live from the 2015 Barnes Family Entrepreneurship Bootcamp for Veterans with Disabilities at the Whitman School of Management on the campus of Syracuse University. My name is Michael Shenek, and I'm the Program Manager for Boots to Business and VetNet at the Institute for Veterans Military Families. Before we get started with today's panel that it's my privilege to lead and moderate, for those of you watching live out on our YouTube stream, please note that questions will be limited to the participants in the room, and we will not be feeding the panel any questions that you have out there. So to kick things off, I'm going to ask each of our panelists, please introduce themselves, go through what EBV class or other IBMF programs they've been through, go through their military experience, and then what business ventures they're currently in or exploring. So Lisa, we'll start with you.
All right. Well, howdy. I'm from Texas A&M. My name is Lisa Belcastro. I went through in 2012. My military experience, some of it you can capture on my bio there, was 20 years in the Army. I started out as a 30-year-old private, went into JAG. Throughout, I went through OCS, went to airborne school as a grandmother, and became the first female airborne commander for the 173rd Airborne Brigade Combat Team. Hoorah, airborne still true. Retired as Chief of Troop Construction for Fort Hood, Texas. So when I went through OCS, I was commissioned as an engineer. So it was only logical to capitalize on that woman-owned status for construction and being a service-disabled veteran. So like I said, I went through EBV, and the great selection that they had, well, what great things that they offered for us were these tools and focusing on niche markets. So in construction, even though I'd started my business, 15th year in my service, don't quit your day job for 5 years when you start a new business, I had started construction, roofs to floor and everything more. What EBV did for me was to hone in on a niche market in which I created Dallas metal roofs. And from then it took off. Within my first year, I increased revenues over $100,000. That was the knowledge that I got from going through the EBV course and tapping into all the information and resources. My other business that I own is Inner Boots program. It's female senior military leaders mentoring the junior female service members about coming up through the ranks, wearing the boots, and sexual assault prevention strategies. That is a social venture that I'll talk about in a little while. But those are the two businesses that I went through, EBV and then B-Wise and then the Count Me In program. And with the one thing with the Inner Boots program, I did win Best Social Venture through B-Wise and Citibank last year. So.
Thank you, Lisa. Alex?
I'm Alex Alicia. I'm in the San Diego area, Chula Vista. I went through the EBV program at UCLA, Aversion, back in 2008. UCLA also happens to be my alma mater for undergraduate, so that was kind of special. I took over my family business, which is a small, almost a single-man shop with a few employees added on there, residential mostly back then, plumbing contractor shop. I took it over inadvertently while I was still in active duty because my uncle passed away. So I brought in a business partner. We have grown the business in San Diego, and we'll tell you a little more about it in a bit. My military background is mid-'80s. I was in active duty Navy. I left for quite a long time, about 10 years. And in '97, I joined the National Guard. Initially, I enlisted, and then I went through officer candidate school. I deployed in 03, 04 as a platoon leader, Operation Iraqi Freedom. I led convoys for 15 months. We were one of the many that was extended when everything happened. So I came off active duty in 08. I think I did more active duty time with the National Guard since 9/11, double, than I did during my actual active duty days, and a lot more deployments too. Our successes landed us a number of recognitions. The one I'm most proud of is the Small Business Administration. In 2013 named us the Veteran-Owned Small Business of the Year for San Diego and Imperial counties. Anyway, glad to be here, and hopefully we get something out of it.
Thank you very much. Dawn?
Hi, I'm Dawn McDaniel. I'm not going to stand up because my mic only goes so far. I went to the 2011 B-Wise and EBV-F programs. I have 4 years military experience in the U.S. Army. I went to South Korea for 15 months where I did S1 promotions and professional development, or that's the translated words that I use in the civilian world now. I also spent the rest of my time at the 101st Airborne Division, and then I left the military service and continued my service as a military spouse. I've been a military spouse for 15 years and counting, and was the 2014 Connecticut National Guard Spouse of the Year. My business is Bravo Delta Consulting. It's an HR consulting firm, and I help companies build and leverage their veteran workforce and military spouse workforce. And basically, the foundation of that is I help companies understand the military cultural competencies, so that they have a foundation in military culture, so that they understand how to apply that knowledge to developing their workforce.
Thank you very much, Tom. Nick?
I'm Nick Green. I went to LSU EBV in 2012. So I'm only a couple years into it. As soon as I finished 2012 LSU EBV, I bought my family plumbing company out. 85-year-old ancient shop, just a couple guys working for it. Bought my dad out over the other. When I was in the Army, I was in the 3rd Range Battalion, 01 to 05, so did some stuff there. Anyway, I drifted about, did college for a little bit, and then went to, did a little contract work, and then came through, bought out the family plumbing company. And our shop was also on 3 commercial acres, so since then I've been building out self-storage units and developing that as a rental property. That's 3 acres right on the so developed that one. It's working well. So I have 2 companies actually, the Energy LLC, which is a property company, and then King's Plumbing Energy, which is a plumbing business. I've grown both of those by a factor of 2.5 inside the company. So yeah, that's what I know.
And last but not least, Chris?
Chris Dambach, 2013, SU EBV grad. I went into EBV with a landscaping company, and I learned a lot of things. Where to start? What did I learn? One of them, don't be afraid to ask. Number 2, get out of your comfort zone. When I left EBV, I got out of my comfort zone. I started going after bigger contracts, and I started networking like crazy. Landscaping company's grown 23. I don't remember here. My wife does all the books, payroll, and she knows how many employees we have. I think we got like 20 employees, 27 subcontractors. We're in the Northeast, Pennsylvania, Long Island, Staten Island, Brooklyn, all over New York. Looks like we just won one. Fingers crossed, I find out tomorrow. In Providence VA Hospital, snow removal. That'll be a good one. But when I got out of EBV, I want to start another business. So I started a mobile food vending company called Bandits. First season of business, we got ranked #1 food truck in Syracuse. Now we're going to go ahead and one of our products that we sell is a bacon jam. We're working on distributing that, jarring it up, putting it on the store shelves. Breweries, wineries, Trader Joe's, Wegmans, things of that sort. Landscape company just got ranked #1 with the SBA. What is it called, Tina? Small business. Yeah. Super excited for that. We get that the 19th. And yeah, living the dream.
And if Chris needs to leave us a little early, his wife did have contractions, and she may go on the waiver. So if he books and gets out of the room, that's what's going on. So the way that we've done this is we've come up with questions for each individual. It's kind of tailored to their expertise. So I will ask each of them that. We'll go through them. We'll ask them each how kind of the EBV network and the resources that they got through the program has helped them. We'll go through a Q&A session, and then we'll finish it up with kind of a 5-minute parting knowledge type thing. So the first question we'll start off with, Lisa, is could you please discuss the entrepreneurial education as it pertains to a social venture? So in your opinion, what is the key messaging individuals should really have when considering or starting a social venture?
Okay, how many have a social venture in here? Do you know, I mean, okay, so you understand what social venture is, right? So are y'all nonprofits or for-profits? For-profits. So with social venture, it's kind of tricky, especially for us as service members, because like Larry said today, we want to serve. And so when we get out there and in our business, and mine's with the Inner Boots program for the female service members, we want to give back. So a lot of people go after the nonprofits, which is you got your social mission, but you're coming at it with going and trying to get the money, or you can be a for-profit doing this, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. A social venture can be a for-profit. So, but the end state is you have the double bottom line. You got the social impact that you're looking at, and you still got to generate a profit because you got to still keep money coming in with that. So if that, as long as that's understood, and one, you know, the social impact will come priority one day, and maybe it's the profit the next. I mean, you have to just learn how to balance that out. But the tools that you get through EBV is those webinars that they have. Tap into all those resources because they're going to be able to give you feedback or a new perspective or a new policy that's coming out. Tap into all those resources and then the people that are around you. I would also say the national conferences, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to find somebody in the EBV world that's doing the same thing or something similar, and they're going to be able to share that tidbit with you. Okay? Does that pretty much sum it up?
Can you talk a little bit about how you can have a social venture and still be for profit as well?
Okay, so for mine in the Inner Boots program, we started this while I was in the military. It's a group of the senior female military leaders and a couple of male sergeant majors that are part of the team. So we did the politically correct thing, you know, and briefing all the generals on, you know, this new different approach to sexual assault prevention. And it was all good when it was in Iraq. It was a different story coming back to the stateside. So we've all retired. And so doing the correct way of briefing and trying to get them to buy into the program, the EBV helped with going, okay, we find our voice by going it through a business perspective. So when you do that with social entrepreneurship, starting out and bootstrapping, it's good to have a product, all right? So with us, we have a book. So if you tie your book, like we have a book, tying the book into the program, and we had to go back and, you know, adjust the book to mesh with the program, so it becomes a whole package selling point in trying to make the impact. Does that make sense? So tie in those things, but usually you need a product to help streamline. My construction company right now is what keeps us going because it will take a toll on you because not everybody's going to buy in, even though they see the writing on the wall, this is something that's needed. Not everybody's going to buy in. So if you just keep moving forward little by little, and don't go after the, you know, we're looking at DOD and the whole federal government. You know, you got to streamline. So we're like hitting high school students in the ROTC programs, targeting young females before they even hit basic training. So look at your audience, and yeah, you want to be here, but build it up little by little. And you might need that other income to keep it going if that's your passion. See, if it's your passion, it's going to drive you, and you won't give up on it because you know that's what you need to do. But you might need to adjust fire sometimes to kind of target it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So Alex, we'll go to you next. So BPI's initial revenues in 2006 were $200,000. And based on your current projections, it looks like it's going to be between 3.5 and $4 million. Can you talk a little bit about the strategies that you employed in making the shift from small residential contracts to commercial and government contracting, and really how you've managed the growth over this period?
Well, when I first took over, I took over a residential, basically a one-man shop with a couple additional guys right now. And putting together a long-term plan, I realized that residential is really competitive, so I wasn't going to be able to just come in and take business away from the established plumbers. So I had to I looked at the competitive environment in San Diego and tried to look for an area where I bring in an advantage. The two areas that stood out were tourism, hotels, and things like that, and government, because of course we're a border and we're also quite a large military establishment. Besides being a good plumber, I mean, nobody's gonna just hang the business because you're a veteran. I looked at other things like certifications to help me get my foot in the door. There's a number of certifications. You mentioned woman-owned, there's minority-owned, there's veteran, disabled veteran. California actually doesn't recognize woman or minority. So in California, it's small business or disabled veteran. And yeah, I got certified. That started us on some baby steps. What I really didn't understand at the time is that, okay, you're certified, you got a contractor's license. It still doesn't get you in the door at the local military base because there's other contractors that have been there for 30 years. What do I bring to the table that they don't? What got me to understand that was entering. I kind of stumbled onto a mentor protege program. Best thing that could happen. My uncle was gone. I had nobody to really guide me. I linked up with a gentleman named Rich Collins Plumbing. Rich is a Vietnam veteran, very successful plumber, and he basically taught me how to compete against him. That this is what a mentor protege program is meant to be. The program was through a group called Associated General Contractors, AGC, and the city of San Diego. I could write a dissertation on everything this did enable me, but to put it in short, I learned how to bid better. I learned how to be more efficient with my materials, and I learned how to get better bonding. The bonding is just amazing. I was able to finally get that. That actually got us in the door on small jobs as subcontractors. And little by little, we built that up from being a subcontractor to being a larger contractor. I will put in, I don't know, how many of you were in Iraq? You might understand. I think of the road we've traveled is Route Irish, which was one of the more dangerous roads in Iraq. I was a trans officer, so we were always dodging snipers and IEDs. Well, our road has been filled with that. Besides our competitors, the larger ones trying to come after us, we took into account for that. Some of the advice I've gotten, you need to partner with somebody to enable you to get your foot in the door. Well, I did partner with a much larger plumbing contractor. Not my mentor, somebody else, $100 million company. In the midst of a large project, they went bankrupt, leaving us at the time $1.5 million company with a $20 million project. We made it through that. We were able to find ways around it, but be really careful with some of the advice that you get as far as partnering goes, because I hear that thrown out all the time. But that did get our foot into the next level, which means by doing that, a lot of the large DoD contracting GCs, general contractors, got to know who we were. And that with relentless marketing. I mean, I've joined every association that has anything to do with veterans in business. I'm the president of the Disabled Veteran Business Alliance in San Diego. What does that do for me? Well, as BPI Plumbing, a local Navy commander may not be interested in hearing reviews. As a board member or president of the local Disabled Veteran Business Alliance, I have a cell phone. Those things, the doors entering these organizations opens are immeasurable. That's worth anything in advertising. I heard Dr. Heine here talking about using the free resources available to you. Well, membership in this organization was not free, $60 a year, but it got me way more visibility for commercials or things like that. So I think relentless marketing never ever stop.
Really quickly for our viewers online and for the viewers in the room, could you give us a 30,000 view look at what bonding is, just in case folks don't understand what bonding is?
Bonding is a form of insurance where if I take on a $1 million project, somebody, a bonding company, has to be willing to back me up. So if I fail for whatever reason, they're going to come in with $1 million and finish the project for me. It's very difficult to get. It's the equivalent of getting a $1 million loan. And from any job for the government, over $25,000, you will need to bond. They're going to look at your credit. They're going to look at your banking, your resources, how much money you have cash in the bank. I mean, this is pretty no nonsense. There's really no way to massage around it. And the bonding that I got, normally when you go to a bonding company and ask for bonding, they're going to give you a stack of papers this thick. And it's going to ask you everything about you ever. And mentor protege program, I needed a $200,000 bond. My mentor at a luncheon introduced me to the biggest bonding guy in town. Told him, hey, he needs a $200,000 bond. When he said, okay, well, I'll get you the paperwork, my mentor said, no, BS, just give it to him. And you'd be shocked that I got it. And so that's, when you are a large business and you have connections, that's how you get bonding. Or when a big business takes you under their wing. So,
I would like to add real quick to that. Don't wait to the last minute when you got a contract to go get bonding. You establish that relationship prior with a bonding agent and start, because everything's based on relationships. So you do that network, go ahead and fill it out, because once you got the contract or you're up for it, it's too late. You're behind the Powerball. So go ahead and build those relationships now.
Thank you very much. So Don, we'll shift to you. Your business is focused on training civilian hiring managers and executives on how to effectively recruit, retain, and onboard employees into the organization. What I'm going to do is flip the coin and talking to our veteran entrepreneurs who may have kind of a military culture in their business. What strategies would you give them for bringing on civilian employees into their company, and educating them on the management style and culture that these individuals may be building?
Sure. So obviously, if you're hiring veterans, you already know the value. So there's really no reason to discuss that. But what's really important is understanding your values within your company and understanding the culture within your company. When I work with veterans, what I find is they often underestimate and under-recognize their culture that they've taken from the military, if that makes sense. So it's become more of who we are and not something that we acknowledge as being a culture. So I would recommend that you recognize what those values are within your business, and then understand that you're bringing a specific kind of culture. And a lot of times civilians don't understand that culture. Maybe they don't understand the discipline or the work ethic, especially when we heard Larry talk about small teams. You expect the person next to you to do the job that they're supposed to do, and you're not going to micromanage them. You're not going to worry about it, right? You expect that. That needs to be part of your onboarding process so that your civilian counterparts or your civilian employees understand that that's your expectation. And then provide them with the structure, as you probably are already doing, to give them that guidance. But I think it's really important, one, that you really understand what your values are, and then acknowledge that you have a culture that you have within your company, whether you want to admit it or not, and that needs to be communicated to your civilians.
Thank you very much. We'll go to Nick next. Could you first talk about, and this is kind of ties in with Alice, we actually have two plumbers on the panel, but could you talk about first the importance of having the appropriate industry certifications when entering an industry that requires them? And secondly, could you talk a little bit about the purchasing process of your family business and then the succession plan of how that translated over?
First of all, plumbing is a very technical skilled trades application, same with HVAC. I do both of those. It requires journeyman and master level licensing. Electricians are oftentimes in most states in the same boat, and same with general contractors. And what that requires, like in my state, it varies from state to state, but my state especially, you have to be a journeyman to work on the job unsupervised, and then have a master, at least one master in the shop to oversee the shop. And journeyman is 7,000 registered hours in my state, 7,500 in North Dakota, which neighbors me. Most states are right around the 7,000 4-year mark. Master level, you're right around the $9,000 to $10,000 mark. And a real human statistic is that it takes 10,000 hours of masters to become truly good at it. You need that experience, and that's what they're looking for a lot of times. And if you're looking at doing something more technical and skilled trades, if you don't have the master level abilities yourself, you have to hire someone with the master level abilities. And the way the demographics of the United States seem to be shifting, everyone more towards the university education, but what that does is detracts from the skilled trades that are becoming more and more technical, and creates a huge vacuum in labor and the number of people who can actually fill these positions, because not only is it requiring more licensing, more experience, more technical abilities, it's becoming harder and harder to do, and fewer people willing to do that. And what I found too is being a younger boss, I've had to lead from the front, jump in, get my hands dirty. Part of it is I'm not as big as Alex, so I still do that. I'm just now getting to the point where I'm too big. I have to be around for office administrative type duties, logistics. I can't really be working in the field anymore at this point, but I found to gain the respect of the guys working for me, because at the time that I took over the shop, I was the youngest man in the shop, even though I was a fourth generation master plumber, and nobody's not going to take you seriously unless you can seriously, and especially in that kind of application, unless you can bring something to the table, you being younger. And even if I don't know as much as them, I'm willing to jump in, get my hands dirty right alongside them. People like that. It's kind of, you learn that in the military too. Team leaders, first guy charging into the room when you pick the door and kind of stuff. And that's the mentality that I brought to my business, and I feel that it's paid off immensely in helping me put together the shop. In addition to being a huge demand for workers, I can't hardly find anyone in my area willing to work in that field. So I have to make my work environment, I go to great lengths to keep my work environment a very positive one, to bring my shop together, keep it a real cohesive one, because you have to, if you want to grow your business big, if you want to keep growing and have people beating down the door to come work for you, you have to have an awesome place to work. If you spend a lot of time, there's always stuff in your job that you can't get around, stuff that has to be done, but the time around when you always have aspects about every job that you don't like. But what I try to do too is keep it, because we clean sewers and change out lift pumps and stuff like that with raw human sewage, and that's not the most pleasant thing in the world. So I try to make things as positive as possible too, and change the company culture and make it so people like working together and like working for me. But yeah, going back to that certification thing, that's very important, and that kind of ties in with if you don't have those abilities or you want to delegate anything, have anyone working for you, they have to like working for you, otherwise they're going to find employment elsewhere, no matter what the economy is like. Then the family business question. I'm the fourth generation to take over my family. I wasn't sure if I necessarily wanted to do it or not, and I have a little daughter, and I will do everything I can to encourage her not to do that. Family businesses aren't the greatest thing in the world, and even talking to Ted last night, he pointed out that if the business is just given to you, or they feel like you got too good of a deal on your business, other family members are going to come up and expect their half or their third, and expect to get a check for doing nothing, especially if you take the business and build it up into something big and successful. Because that actually happened to my dad's or this plumbing company I own now, that happened to my dad's family a generation ago. My dad brought his brothers and sisters into the company, and as he pointed out, is everyone was fine when everyone's happy to help out family and do whatever they can for their family. It's when the business started getting big and successful that everything was torn apart. So I encourage anyone who's going about to do the family business thing to be very careful how you do that, especially for succession planning. What I did, part of it is because my parents have other stuff, and it can really royally screw stuff up when inheritance time comes along, or my parents pass away. But I bought my dad out for full fair market value. It might have been a bit of a low market value, but it's a realistic price that someone else coming in would give him. And the economy was pretty tough still in 2012 in my area, so I was able to get a realistic, what a fair market value for the company is, or for both businesses, and purchased it for that full amount. And part of that's too, so years down the road, my siblings can't be like, well, oh, you got the business, even though, and you shouldn't get anything type deal. Potential disinheritance lawsuits, whatnot. You have to consider a consultant attorney, but especially growing the business like I am now, there's always a measure of jealousy among the other family members, thinking that if they come and think, well, I should have a piece of this, and expect to get a check for doing nothing, even though I poured my whole heart and soul into it for years and years. Kind of what my dad did. When you get a measure of success, be kind of weary of your, family is everything. You got to do everything you can for your family. Although the advice I'm giving you is tread very carefully and have a very clear, spelled out succession plan. Communication is the key. Who owns what? Because that's part of what got my dad's family into the snafu years ago. Is he didn't even have a clear who's going to get what at what point type thing when he brought his brothers and sisters into the company and started growing it really big. It used to be just a father-son shop. Started out as my great-grandpa and my grandpa, then my grandpa and my dad, and it was actually my dad that brought in his siblings. Just that when he brings in 4 siblings into the company, and then all of a sudden everybody expects to be owning their half. So that doesn't, and part of what tore everything apart is they didn't, it wasn't clearly spelled out what your duties are. They didn't really plan for success, I guess I should say. And you have to be very careful on that, on the family business aspect. And then working with family in general is tough. Some people start businesses with the intention of making it a family business. Just be very careful how you're going to go about that. If your children or grandchildren want nothing to do with the business, then don't try to force them into the business and have them do something they don't want to do, or just kind of plop it down and say, here you go. And if you have one kid who gets the business and another kid wants nothing to do with it, to keep any kind of animosity from forming between other relatives, like I said, make sure you have a clear succession plan spelled out, starting to get competitive.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. So we'll go to Chris last. So first off, would you consider yourself a serial entrepreneur?
Yes, I own 2 businesses, so absolutely. I want to own a bunch more when I'm older. Much older.
How,
Like Ted. Want to be like Ted.
how have you structured these businesses so you can manage multiple ventures at once?
This is something my dad taught me, and I don't know if he knows that he taught me that. Maybe I heard him on the phone say this, or maybe he was talking to me and I was daydreaming while he was telling me. But he said, Chris, do what you're good at, not what you're not. So what I processed that to be was, we do a lot of government contracts, big government contracts. I never went to law school. So now I have an attorney, good buddy of mine. He goes through all my contracts. He looks them over before we submit our final bid. If I win the bid, if there's any addendums, he'll look over those again. I have a great accountant. I didn't go to accounting school. I'm not a CPA. And I'll never try to do that. So he takes care of all our books, make sure all our ducks are in a row. And that's what I try to do. And I just want to go on a side note real quick. I have a great accountant. He keeps all our ducks in a row. Even then, you can still get audited. We just got audited. We had a tax audit. New York State sales tax audit. Popped up out of the blue. Didn't expect it to happen, but it did. I felt comfortable because we have an accountant that does all our books. We're on the up and up. But there was a red flag that went off because we were in the beginning, when we started a landscape company, we did so much residential, collected sales tax, paying it out. Then we shifted to government and got out of the residential. On the government work, you don't pay sales tax. So we stopped paying sales tax pretty much completely. Big red flag went up. We got audited. We just found out yesterday that everything came back good. So me and my wife are super excited about that. But I'd like to think of myself as a delegator. I think you have to be a delegator as you're growing. You can't do everything. You can't be in the trenches and in the office at the same time. Yeah, you might be in there in the morning in the trenches working with the guys and then hop back to the office, getting paperwork done. But when you start growing to a point where you have to step back, you have to hire good site supervisors. You have to get great employees, pay them more. And that's how you juggle it all and make it work, I think. It's been working for us.
And finally, I would have to imagine that there's been a certain level of interaction with local municipalities with both your lawn care business and with Bacon Bandits. What did you learn in navigating kind of that ecosystem of local municipalities?
I don't want to speak negatively, but what I've found is a lot of the times people don't like change, especially in those positions. And I'm the guy, if I don't get the answer I want, not to be a jerk or to annoy anybody, but I'll go to somebody else. I'll keep knocking on doors. I'll keep asking. I'll call you over and over again every day until I finally can talk to somebody that does have an answer. If they tell me, no, I can't put my food truck on this street at this time, I want to know why. If there's not a good reason, I want to know why until someone can tell me the reason. If there's no good reason, well, then I want to go ahead. I want to talk to City Hall. I want to put together a panel. I want to come in. I want to you just keep going. You keep going. You keep going until you find the answers you need. Don't stop. They say the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I've found that to be true. You know, I don't want to annoy people, but if someone gives you I swear, someone gives you an answer that's just a crock of shit, well then you keep digging. You know what I mean? You keep digging. You know, it's, everything we've been through in the military. I mean, everything we've overcome. Translating that into business, this is easy. You know, you're not getting shot at. You're not. You know, what I'm trying to say is, just be the squeaky wheel. I guess what I'm trying to say. You know, keep digging. Get the answers you want.
Very good, thank you. This is a veteran audience, so this is where we're all okay with that. Absolutely. So I think what we'll do is we'll do kind of a quick fire 1 minute answer from each panelist just on how did you or how have you utilized the EBV resources either to launch or grow your business? I know we've lightly touched on it, each of you, but if you could just summarize in 30 seconds to a minute, then we'll get into the group Q&A session. So Lisa will start.
As far as, like, I use the EBV program for my logo here, and then with the business plan and development on that, and then apply for all the competitions that are up and the pitch parties that come up, because it really empowers you to go forward when you're out there beyond the EBV audience. So I think that's.
Thank you. Alex?
The thing I found most useful, excuse me, was I got assistance in developing a HR manual. Especially, I don't know, I'm sure other states are tough. California, you do not go into business without a very specific HR manual. Could have been quite an expensive venture, but one of the many benefits that EBV has brought since graduation. Another thing was just the networking. Unbeknownst to me, the owner of the largest plumbing supply company in Southern California was a UCLA Anderson grad. So through their network, I was able to meet him, and one of the reasons I've become more competitive.
Dawn?
Okay, this is where you're going to have to cut me off because I can get really passionate about this and get really excited. You're a part of a very unique community, and if you embrace it as that community, you can get a lot out of it. So IVMF sends me emails. I read every single one of them. I respond to every single opportunity that fits with my business, and that has provided me not only the support and the structure to be able to take my business to different places, it's also helped me grow. It's helped me take those bigger leaps. With a low overhead service company, it's easy to bootstrap and say, I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to travel there, or I'm not going to hire somebody because I can do it. You heard Larry talk about not being the lone wolf, and it's scary to think that, but when you embrace the community and allow those resources to be able to support you, all of a sudden you can do things that you didn't think possible, explore options that you didn't think were even within the capabilities of what you can do. With the TAP program, I went through the program in 2011, and Mirza was the TAP program, so called Mirza like pretty frequently, asking him question after question. And here it is 3 years later, and my business is getting to the point where it's ready for that next level. And TAP is still my first place I call when I say, hey, I need new financial spreadsheets. Hey, I'm not quite sure what I need to do for this. Or, I don't know, I'm scared. I just am scared to take that leap. I need to hire some people now, and I'm scared. Just calling them up and reaching out to that community. Again, the camaraderie between your class, they're my lifeline when those days are tough. And I can't tell you how many times that I have contacted my EBV and VWise partners and said, look, this is really tough and this is really scary. And then I get that inspiration and they say, Dawn, you can do it. If anybody can do it, you can do it. And that's sometimes all I need in order to make it to that next step. So embrace that community, pay attention to everything that they send out, and take advantage of as many things as possible. That's my advice.
Great, thank you. Nick?
I'm not as intelligent as I got an EBV Foundation grant. It was real important for me, especially starting out, because cash is king. Cash, any small business, you got to make sure you have the cash flow. in my line of work too, I have a very capital intensive, relative high revenue but low margin kind of line of work. It costs me tens of thousands of dollars for every truck that before it can even go and generate revenue. Plus, I have a high wage employee, and Alex has the exact same thing. Hey, it costs a lot of money to have plumbing trucks out doing service maintenance work. So it got a foundation grant. And what I get mainly from the EBV is the support. The just getting to know some of these people. Like I've gotten to know Alex a little bit, and some other friends that I made going to the national conventions. Being able to talk to other people, doing business, even if it's completely unrelated to you, you can get a lot of ideas and how to do things, and seeing these classes and courses. And, it helps me. For me, it helps me find my motivation to keep going, keep expanding.
Chris?
If you guys haven't done this yet, start a Facebook page. Might sound cheesy, but really, we're on ours, class 2013, that's you. We're on there every day. You know, guys are saying, hey, what do you think of this logo? And you know, vets aren't going to lie to each other. So it sucks, man. The colors are horrible. I mean, you can get a real honest opinions from these guys in your class, you know. I would do that first thing. Second thing is the TAP program. We already received 2 trademarks from Eric Pelton down at DC, going for our 3rd trademark. And I don't even know how I got invited here today, because I'm sure I annoy the hell out of the EBV staff. I'm emailing them all the time and calling them. Not to be that guy, but you know, if I got a question and I don't know where to go, I'm calling these guys or emailing them. So, you know, it's helped me. Yeah.
Great. So we have 20 minutes for Q&A that we'll open it up to. So please direct your question either to the group or to an individual. And what I'll do is I will repeat the question into the microphone so all people watching out on the stream can hear it.
Giving back to charity, is that starting another corporation, or is that under the?
So the question is, when you start a not-for-profit or a charity, giving back, is that under your own name or other incorporation, LLC, or something like that? Implement that.
Yeah, incorporate. If you're gonna do a nonprofit, go through the
501c3.
yeah, go through that, because you always want to protect yourself. That's the whole part of incorporation, is protecting yourself personally. And understand, you know, there's personal and there's business. So you want to protect yourself on that. So incorporate. I am a for-profit for both my businesses. No, they're both for-profit, but for what I do, when you have like a social venture, you partner up with a nonprofit, and then, you know, because different states have different rules, and I most definitely got my little entrepreneurial hand slapped by the state of Texas, but you know, it was all good. Warning, lesson learned, and now I move on and don't do that again. But you know, you learn to partner up with people that have the statuses that you need and run things through.
Sorry, this is going to be kind of hard. Thanks to all of you guys for your service. God bless all you guys. I'm going to focus my question towards Nick and Chris, because they have alternative kind of viewpoints on this. And I know Chris will kick my butt on this. I'm a single member LLC, IT consultant, small minimum risk, decent, not great income, but doing okay. Kind of that status quo business philosophy also comes to trade-offs of family time and some other things. Now, you know, I could go out there and bid on the big government contracts, build the back office, and kind of go big. And since you guys have all gone big, what I'm going to ask is, was your decision to kind of swim out into deeper waters kind of organic, or was it part of a natural succession, or was it really closer to pure ambition and courage?
Okay, so really quickly before we go over, it sounds like the question is, with the growth, was it purely organic, or is it something in like Dawn's case where she said, hey, I need to make that jump and this is what I need to do? So let Nick start off.
The plumbing company that I took over was to the point where I either had to expand or die. It was, right around $500,000 revenue, negative 30,000 in profit. So if I want to make things work and actually be on the plus side, I have to turn things around, massively expand, or I got to cut all the overhead and downside, go to a one-man shop. So me, it was a decision of either I go bigger or I go smaller. Do I want to go back to the one-man father and son thing that my great-grandpa and grandpa, then my grandpa and my dad back in the day, or take what my dad started building up in the 80s, even though he let it kind of taper off and deteriorate, but he kind of lost his motivation, didn't really want to grow anything. So I either had to, and part of it too is I felt with the family legacy that I guess what helped me to find my motivation to get it bigger is I want to grow the company into what I feel it should be, worthy of the family name. We've been around for 4 generations since the 1920s, and I want to have one of the bigger plumbing shops in the area, more successful in that manner instead of going smaller. Although with all the headaches and overhead and all the employees too, it's more than a little tempting to be a one-man operation in and of itself. And that being said, it's not necessarily bigger isn't necessarily better, because you can work as a one-man shop, be just fine and comfortable if that's what you want to do. You got to figure out and ask a very honest question with yourself and your family: do I necessarily even want to be bigger? And my wife and I have even talked from time to time that maybe I would have been better off just being a one-man shop, being by myself, going off on my own, just doing my own thing, and instead of having all these employees and all this revenue, a lot less stress out of it. So if you're comfortable where you are, and you're in a place where you don't mind being, if that's what you want, by all means, you got to do what you want to do, because also some of you here will discover that maybe being in business isn't the right thing for you. Maybe you're better off punching a time clock and working for someone. Because my wife and I have had that discussion too, because I think in my technical field, I could go work for someone and do quite well, and with a fraction of the stress and headache and time away from your family, because you've got to spend time with your family. And then, so then property company is kind of a no-brainer too, because I was being hammered by taxes, and the only real way to gain anything from it is to do scale of the economy and bring my revenue way up in that business. So it's, you either expand or die, but you, on the other hand, you don't necessarily want to expand too much or be too big. You got to find what's right for you and have that, and honestly ask yourself, between yourself and your family, is this what I really want to do? So if your motivation has to be there, you got to want it.
Yes.
This is more like a quick story that's going to answer your question. I'm standing in my kitchen one day in the fridge. There's a cooler next to it. My wife had packed lunches for the upcoming weekend. Out front, I got my enclosed trailer and my truck packed with all my mowing equipment. In the truck, I got 3 of my employees. My phone rings. Before I tell you who called, I'm going to tell you, we were getting ready to head out to Brooklyn, VA from Syracuse, about a 4.5-hour ride. It's the biggest contract we had at that time. I think it was like $110,000 a year we got to service the grounds, to mow it. I'm a guy that lives in Syracuse. I'm going down every 2 weeks to Brooklyn to mow the VA hospital. Well, I was excited we had that contract, and I was proud I had that contract, biggest one I had at that time. Phone rang. Hello. Hey, Chris, this is Tim. You got a minute? This is Kentucky, Texas accent. I said, sure. How can I help you? Long story short, this guy told me, he goes, hey, I got a huge pharmaceutical company, but we started off not selling pharmaceuticals. We started off doing grounds maintenance, which you do, to generate revenue so we could go ahead and purchase this equipment we needed to sell and distribute this pharmacy equipment. And I said, that's cool. He goes, well, good news and bad news. He goes, bad news for us, we can't do grounds maintenance anymore because our threshold is too big, our size standard. Good news for you, we saw you online. We keep seeing you as an interested vendor on all these different jobs. We want to go ahead and work with you. Basically, groom me to take over these larger contracts. So I kind of stumbled into it. The first one he helped me with was a Long Island National Cemetery. He helped me bid on it, and he introduced me to his subcontractor who he teamed with down there. That was a $3.5 million contract we won it. So now there's probably 6 or 7 getting ready to come up right now that he's getting ready to help me with. So I didn't go actually looking for it. I kind of stumbled upon it because I just picked up the phone one day. So you never know who's going to be calling you. The other thing is, get back to whoever calls you as soon as you can. I'm a firm believer on that. With whatever it is, call them back as soon as you can, email them back as soon as you can. I know you're in the field. I know you guys are busy, but do it. because then guess what? The other guys that person called doesn't get back, you're gonna get the business, right? How it works. Do you like waiting for someone to call you back when it's business related? You want a fence quote? Hell no. You want a quick response? So I don't know. I kind of stumbled upon it. And Sundays I take off. I shut my phone off and I stay with family, no matter what.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Question for Lisa in terms of the social venture, not what you're doing in terms of interviews. And one of the things I was wondering is how do you overcome a bias that some people have that you're trying to do something good with a nonprofit and think, hey, that's all about
Um,
So
Well,
the
that's-
real quick. So the question is, how do you overcome a bias when launching a social venture when others may just view it as you're trying to profit off of that cause?
Well, you can do a lot of volunteer work for that, but if they have a bias, that's okay. There's too many people in the world, you know. So one area, you know, like I said, we were going after DOD, trying to enter that way because they know it's a need. They know of the program. Right now, you know, we're on hold, but we're still targeting like the high school, you know, get it in from the beginning. So you just look at another target market and you'll see through business plan development, all those available markets that are out there. And just thinking outside the book. Who all, did y'all watch Shark Tank and Christina Guerrero? Turbo Pup? Yeah, have y'all talked about her? No?
Probably not yet.
Okay, well, she was on Shark Tank. She beat me out on the VYs and Citibank, so I got Best Social Venture. She took it all, but she just got picked up off of Shark Tank. She went through VYs and stuff. But what she did, she had these turbo bars and she gave out her numbers, which didn't really freak me out because I'm like, man, my construction project, I wouldn't even look at a construction project for her numbers, but she stepped out there. She tackled a market from a whole different area than what most people would think. So you just got to think open, you know, stay curious and think open of, and you never know, things do drop into your lap. As long as you, as I call it, repairing the net, don't be so, you know, trying to get to the end state. Repair the net and where you're at, fill those holes and close up those gaps. Because one day that call is going to come. Does that help?
I'll give a quick plug for Christina. So Christina's one of our graduates. Her product's Turbo Cup. Essentially, it's a power bar, meal bar for dogs. And she found this out. She was going on hikes with her dogs, was sick of carrying around the big sack of food. So her and her husband teamed up and they developed out this bar. She stuck to it. She went out. I believe she just got picked up by the National Search and Rescue Foundation across the country. She was on Shark Tank. And you know what she said when she was on that? And she said, you know, I could have gone down that as a civilian, but what got me that backing was my veteran status, kind of that gumption that I had, because it was tough. We watched that all together at VY's out down in New Orleans, and the first three passed on her. And she stuck to it, and she stuck to her guns. And it was funny when she finally got an offer. I think they said they wanted 40% without missing a heartbeat. She said no, 35%, and they went. So that goes back to leveraging kind of your veteran status.
Yeah, she went through VYs and the Count Me In program, the two programs that I've been through, which develop you on doing that stuff, the business plans, the pitch. I mean, if she had not had that pitch practice, it would probably be more difficult for her to stand up there in that, you know, with that panel that she had.
Absolutely.
We all understand cash is king, of course, and but I understand a couple of dollars inherited their businesses from their families, and so that may have come with some debt already attached. But for all of y'all, if you have the time, what was your take on both personal debt and debt for the business? Did you try to get out of your personal debt first before pursuing and growing the business, or how did you all do that?
So the question is the strategy between personal debt and business debt, and what was overcome first? Did they target going eliminating their personal debt and on business, or going at both? So
Yeah, you clean up your personal debt, but a lot of people like to take on business debt in their personal, like their line of credit. Don't do that. Keep it separate because it will impact you later on. I mean, when you take out business credit, it start off small. That doesn't impact your credit rating, but if you take out a loan to get maybe a piece of equipment or something on your personal, that impacts your whole credit rating. So there are two different lines of credits. I don't know if y'all may have talked about that already in EBV. So keep it separate. I mean, You know, you heard that saying, it's not personal, it's just business. Yeah, maintain that philosophy.
Alex, do you have any input on that?
Now, I was able to prepare personally to eliminate debt, excuse me. And fortunately, for the first 3 or 4 years, we were able to move forward, self-fund. We didn't actually require a line of credit or bonding till I took over in 06 to about 2010. Now, what I will say is having good credit both on the company and the personal side was the only reason we were able to make it past that hump. It was really, with all the small business administration guarantees, you're not going to get a loan unless you have good credit.
I'm going to take a little bit different approach on it because I was very financially risk adverse. I'm not risk adverse when it comes to doing the hard work and getting out there and networking and going around the country. But when it came for me taking out a loan and that potentially jeopardizing my credit or my livelihood or becoming in debt with a business, I was very financially risk adverse. And so those first couple of years, I played small ball. I did. And now sitting here looking at it, I have prepared myself. So my personal financial is in order, but now I am talking with bankers and I'm preparing because where I want to take my business, I cannot do it without getting that financing. And like I said, I thought that I could play in the small and get one little contract, but it ended up just barely making ends meet. So have to take that big leap.
I'm the same thing as everyone else. Any business owner, you have to mind your P's and Q's. Make sure you have very good personal credit. I basically eliminated anything, everything, kind of personal loan that's in your business. That's why you incorporate. Because if you take out a line of credit or something against you personally, you have more of a shield against it if it's against the corporation or LLC, not your personal stuff. Because otherwise, it can royally screw things up for you a lot more. And I've managed to build a plumbing company. I have a little bit of debt right now, but I maintain a massive line of credit against the plumbing company. Why I have that in place is it helps with my bonding. And then in case I have something really, really big that jumps in my lap, I have the stuff just a phone call away, ready to go. And then otherwise, of course, substantial mortgages for commercial real estate. Because anything with real estate is very, very capital intensive. And then the way you build up equity in that or any company is sweat equity. Lots of sweat equity. Time away from your family, build value in your stuff. That's like get where you need to go. So a lot of hard work, a lot of time away from your family.
Served with Mark Grady in Iraq. What's up, Mark? And we were both grunts, and I kind of took that mentality. When you're over there, you have nothing. I mean, we were an expeditionary unit, so we lived and slept in the desert and shower for 30 days at a time. You're eating MREs every day and drinking warm water. So I kind of kept that mentality when I came home and started my business. And me and my wife, we don't live lavish lifestyles on the personal side. I'm not talking business yet. We don't live lavish lifestyles. And if you guys can write this down, some of you are going to know who I'm talking about. Some of you might not. But Dave Ramsey, Financial Peace University. Some of you guys know, some of you don't. That's the best thing I ever did. I'm in it right now, actually, and we just completed week 5. And I've used some of those tips and techniques on my own business. Business debt, we have, I think we have a $100,000 line of credit to cover payroll. Payroll is about $25,000 a week in the summertime. Most of our equipment's paid off. The only thing we have left is a truck, and then the shop we rent out of. That's it. So I would. If you guys know what it's like, you guys are vets, live frugal, right? We didn't have lavish lifestyles when we were vets, right? In service, carry that into your business. The profit, pay off some of that debt. Don't put it into a paycheck, stuff it in your pockets, go on vacation every month, pay off that debt. That's all I got.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yep. Oh, well, okay. So if it's snowing on Sunday, I'm out plowing, because that's how I put food on the table. But I have employees that I can go ahead and cover my route. So if me and my wife want to get away on the weekend with our son, we can do that. We want to go down 90, go to Buffalo, visit friends, go wherever. I could do that. I have that luxury. In the beginning, I did not. I was the only employee, busy every day working in my business instead of on my business, you know? And I almost failed before I succeeded in the very beginning, third weekend. Working in my business so much, I didn't look at how much money was left in the account. I made it to the third week in that month, I had no more money, no fuel to put in my truck, you know what I mean? So I had to call a client, put my hat in my hand and say, hey, can I get paid early, cash? Nice lady said yes. I never made that mistake again. But Sundays, you know, if it's snowing in the wintertime, yes, I have to. But sometimes my wife, she'll go in the truck with me, you know, my best friend.
And we have time for one last question. Yes, sir.
John, you mentioned the TAP program. What is it? How is it?
Oh, I believe they're going to cover it more in the program, but it's the transition assistance program, and it's the support that's available to you once you graduate.
You're gonna get a little.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there'll be a full course on it. Essentially, it's a resource network that's been built out by the Institute to cover things such as logo design, incorporation services, and other pro bono services or low-cost services that we've gone out and partnered with either other institutions or companies to help you alleviate some of the startup costs associated with launching your venture. Some of those will have a limited time frame, and others maybe longer down the road. But Katie will hit that, I believe, tomorrow in depth.
And I'll just add that it's always a great resource. So if you have a question or you're not sure where to go, it's a great place to start.
And that's right. I mean, what we've done with the program is even if we don't have something that may be a fit or offer the service we've built out a network where maybe we can refer you to someone that may be able to help you with that. So what I'll ask is, before we wrap up here, just another quick fire down the line. Any 30-second piece of parting knowledge for? Yeah, Lisa goes 30 seconds.
Yeah, my 30
Just
seconds.
parting knowledge for the
Yeah.
group as they enter day 3 or 4 of the program. So Lisa.
Okay, couple of things I want to caveat to. Chris had mentioned the IRS. I also have been audited by the IRS. So with that said, you know, they really do look at small businesses, and you may have an accountant, but I guarantee you need to know that stuff better than them, those regulations, better than your accountant and better than the IRS agent, because that's how I was able to beat them. Second thing with Nick, he talked about family-owned businesses, and what I find mainly with the males trying to get their wives to maybe do the secretarial kind of stuff and everything, and she's just there to help you with, helping you with your vision. That's the whole thing. You were given that vision. That is your drive. You'll have your team. You'll have, the people that live with, that work with you, your accountant, your legal, and your spouses and everything. If your spouse is doing that, take my advice. Cut them loose. Hire you in a receptionist. Do not put that pressure on your marriage. I gave that advice last EBV class, and by the time I got to the national conferences, most of the guys told me that was the best advice they got. They went home, applied it, and their marriage was better. So that I'm following up with that. But the bottom line is that vision was given to you. Eagles soar alone. You need that team. You need everybody around you. You're going out of here with a million ideas at once, and that's cool. But reality is going to set in, and you're going to find yourself there alone because you were given that vision. And how I did with, David in the book of Samuel, you encourage yourself and strengthen yourself in the Lord, because there's going to be that time you are that eagle soaring alone and moving forward. And one last thing I will say with the EBV, because my world came crashing, didn't even see it coming. But I hung in there, and I get this phone call from an EBV classmate, Texas A&M. She's like, hey, Lisa, I got a contract doing IED lanes at Fort Hood, Texas. And I go, you're a nurse. What the hell do you know about IED lanes? And she said, I knew I could call you to get the contract done. So hoorah, that was my first government contract. I already planned going into subs, but I was in a holding pattern, and she opened the door for letting me to go through. So that's what I said about repairing that net, because you never know when you're going to get that phone call. And now we're rocking and rolling. So with that said, welcome to the EBV family.
Alex?
I'll just say, be careful with your brand management. I took over Benny Plumbing. It was run by Uncle Benny. I changed the name to BPI. Huge mistake. Everybody knew Benny Plumbing, including city and county plumbing inspectors. When they know you, they're a lot more gentle on you. There's another example of Nova, Chevy Nova. When GM tried to market the Nova in Latin America, it never occurred to them to see if it translated into something bad. Nova means doesn't run. Listen, I saw the same thing happen with a couple Marines that I met at Camp Pendleton. They're going into business, starting a GC company, general contracting company. They know Marine lingo, but they're going after Army contracts. Their name of the company was Bolo Construction. Who's Army here? Okay. Bolo means you failed. It may not mean that to Marines, but if you're going after the Army Corps of Engineers, be aware of that. So make sure you know how to brand manage.
What I would say is small steps can lead to big steps. So I know sometimes, at least for me, I got impatient. I got feeling like I'm not going far enough, fast enough, hard enough. But little steps and persistence has continued to grow. Family gets in the way, life gets in the way, things happen, and you sometimes have no control over that. Keep your eye on the prize, keep moving forward, and reach out for that support when you need it, because there will be days like this.
From my family's lesson, I paid attention to the previous generation. Be very wary of family businesses, and even my grandparents worked together for many years, but my wife and my parents never did. My wife worked in the office for a short time, but then we made the decision, even though we needed the money at the time and things were tight, that it'd be best for our marriage if she was not working with me or we weren't together all the time. And so then if you plan on passing business to your kids, be very clear with what the rest of your family, who's going to get what, and how you're going to do things, because that can create issues further down the road. And just sometimes you have to be bold. And make sure going in the business is right for you. It's something you really want to do. Find your motivation. EBV helps me find my motivation. And luck will often save a man should his courage hold. So it's a good way to leave it.
Coming back overseas, hit the States, want to start my own business, family and friends. No, not this economy. Don't start a business. Use your GI Bill. Become a janitor at the VA, man. Do that. So I would say all those friends and family that speak negative in your ear, don't start a business. What are you doing? What do you know about business? Shit like that. Cut them out of your life. In the beginning, maybe invite them back. Maybe they'll come back and say, hey, man, I was wrong. In the beginning, that's a cancer. You don't want them sucking air out of your balloon, because that's what's going to happen, okay? They're going to have you thinking in your head, doubting yourself at night. You're going to be thinking about this shit. Should I be starting a business? Maybe it's a bad idea. If it's a dumb idea, it's a dumb idea. If you're trying to sell ice to Eskimos, okay? But if it's a good idea and you feel it in your gut, run with it. Don't let these people around you, because it's cancer. You don't need it. Second thing is find a mentor, okay? Find a good mentor, someone you can look up to. And the other thing is, don't waste your mentor's time. Don't be an asshole. If you ask him advice and he tells you something and you don't take it, you're an asshole. You're wasting his time or her time, right? So mentors are for.
It's a perfect way to end. In closing, let's give a round of applause for our panelists. They will.
Learned a lot from you today, too.
All right.
Learned a lot from you, man. That was good.
Chris, have a seat, sir. So on behalf of the Syracuse University EBV class of 2015, we would like to thank you first for your service, just everything you've done for your country. And second, for your continued service to your brothers and sisters of the service. And for taking time out of your busy and obviously lucrative schedules to come here and share your time with us and give your knowledge with us. So thank you
very much.
Thank
for
you.
that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got one more thing to add. Okay, Mike?
Go
I got
for
one
it.
thing. We love examples and something to copy with, so that's what I've left here on the table in front of you, because none of y'all are from Texas, right, Dallas? All right, so no competition there. So I will share my information. A lot of people, they don't want to see business plans. They want to see the one pager. EBV will go through and, give you that layout. This is one that I have used in secured funding, but this is in the arena that I was targeting. So understand your target market and who you're trying to get information. So that is just an example of what I use. And the other one, a lot of businesses use capability statements. All right, you'll see that. Here's an example of mine, and I know the SBA uses it down in Texas, so I'm thinking it might be okay, so. All right,
Very good. Thank you, Lisa. And for those of you watching out on the live stream, if you want more information on the EBV program, please email ebvinfo@syr.edu. We'd be happy to address your inquiries. So with that being said, from all of us at the IBMF and the 2015 Barnes Family EBV program at Syracuse University, thank you very much, and we'll close out.